everyone. Welcome to the Planner Down and Posted podcast, and this is Naomi Tucker. I am so excited for you to be here. This is episode 3 of the podcast. Yes, we are moving up in the world with our 3rd episode, and very excited to get that underway. For those of you that are like, hey, where are the other 2 episodes? Well, fear not. You can go back and look at those other 2 episodes that we do have. A couple of great interviews in there for you. One of them with Triple Three Studios with Erin Chapman, where we talked about leadership and work-life balance and her exciting job with big events that she has done and how she keeps it all together. And then we've had another exciting interview with Lindsay Anvik, who is a personal development and keynote speaker, but she really gave us some great creative speaker uses, and then also gave us her insight into keeping it all together, being a great leader, and some other tidbits for planners. So again, if you haven't went back and went to those episodes and listened to them, make sure you go ahead and do that. A couple of reminders. I would love for you to continue to get updates about this podcast, so please make sure that you like it. If you aren't familiar with Anchor is a really great kind of app for podcasts. So some of you might be more familiar with Google Play or familiar with the Apple Podcast. Well, Anchor acts in the same way, and maybe you find that many of the podcasts you listen to are on Anchor, that you would like to go ahead and download that app and have that app available. If not, you can definitely click the link and have it be available to you in your browser. But make sure that you like the podcast, and it also is available on Apple iTunes and Google Play and all the other, I think, 13 different areas as well. So definitely like it, subscribe it, leave a comment if you do like the podcast. Additionally, if you want to keep up with us in a different way, you can sign up for a newsletter. Newsletter does come out weekly. If I don't have a lot to say, I probably will not be emailing, but definitely will keep you updated on the new posts that have been done, in addition to maybe some other quick tips and tidbits. So make sure you sign up for that. And if you are a social person and you like to be on Facebook and Twitter, I am in those areas too. So definitely look to find me and follow me there as well. So again, I'm really excited about this episode. We are going to be discussing some productivity tips, and then also we'll be discussing our book club book. So wanted to make sure that you all had some insight as to our next book selection. So speaking of our next book club selection, we have selected a new book, as I mentioned, and that book is called Spark: How to Lead Yourself and Others to Greater Success. This book is by Angie Morgan, Courtney Lynch, and Sean Lynch, so several different authors. And we're really just going to be getting into the book a bit, and I wanted to read some of the back of the book so that you would give a little bit inside scoop of what it's about. So, leadership is not about job titles. It's about action and behavior. Sparks are the doers, thinkers, innovators, and key influencers who are the catalysts for the personal and organizational change. But these extraordinary individuals aren't defined by the place they hold on an organizational chart. They are defined by their actions, their commitment, and will. So again, if that sounds appealing to you, it certainly does for me. I would love it if you would pick up your copy of Spark. I think that it was not too expensive, especially if you purchase it from Amazon, and you can get it like the next day. And in some places, you probably be able to get it within a few hours because Amazon is dope like that, right? So again, we will really be getting into finding, just kind of looking at the contents for you, really confronting some of the myths of leadership, talk about the 4 keys that it will be 4 keys to being credible, as a leader, and then becoming an accountable leader. So definitely there are lots of different areas where we can discuss, and we're looking forward to it. So many of you may be thinking, so when is this book club going to be happening? It will be happening August 7th, which is a Wednesday. So Wednesday, August 7th on Facebook Live, and it will be at 8 p.m. Central Time. I know it's an evening hour, so and maybe it's in the middle of the night if we have a lot of those overseas. So we'll just see how this time frame works. Again, I'd love to hear your input if it is not a good time for you, and we'll just see where we fall on it. But for right now, we're at 8 p.m. Central Time. It will be kind of when my kids are in the bed, so it will be perfect. And we look forward to getting into it. So I'll be right back, and we'll jump into our productivity tips for this episode. So with this episode, I wanted to focus on one of the posts that was made recently to the blog. It's called 9 Tips to Increase Productivity, and we'll definitely link that in the show notes as well. This particular post came off one of the recent books that we had a discussion about not too long ago, which was called Free to Focus. It was by Michael Hyatt, and it was a really great book that focused around productivity. And I learned so many great things from that book, which I would love to be able to share with you. So Michael Hyatt is, if you don't know who he definitely is really a good sounding board for productivity. He is like the guru, I would think, of productivity. You can go to his website. His website's like michaelhyatt.com. And I just learned so much from him, and learned so much from just his life and how he leads his life. So he was a former chairperson of Thomas Nelson Publishers. He also has written several books. He's a New York Times bestselling author. He really has gotten down this productivity thing pretty well. He also has a podcast. If you would like to go in and take a gander at his podcast, I have it, and it is a great podcast to be subscribed to. Some people love Michael Hyatt and some people don't. Obviously, there are those people out there that just really do not prefer his style, and that's okay, because I think people are drawn to whatever is resonates with him. But I basically really enjoy his books. So Michael Hyatt, Free to Focus, was the book that we had selected. But there were a lot of great takeaways from the book, and I just wanted to focus on several that really resonated with myself, and then just really talk about them with you, with hopes that it would help you as well. So in the book, they really talked about starting each day with clarity, and that was a really something that I feel that I always do. I tend to like to wake up in the morning. Hopefully, I wake up before the kids wake up. That's usually what really will throw this whole thing off. It's like if the kids wake up first, then starting my day with clarity doesn't really happen as great as it should. But if I do have the opportunity to wake up before they do, which is 90% of the time, I can really center my thoughts on what I want to accomplish today. And if I did have worries the day before, really kind of think through and meditate through, how am I going to get through those particular situations? How am I going to, have that difficult conversation with that person? And that's where I kind of set my day up mentally. And that was really great to hear that Michael Hyatt recommends that as well. It's so important to be able to have that space to be able to prepare for your day, and then that way it allows you to move through your day with a purpose and with a presence that isn't self-destructive. Because literally what we could do is we could come into our day just really sad or really anxious or very frustrated, and when you bring that into your work, it somehow just spirals out of control if you don't catch yourself, right? So being able to catch yourself in the morning, say, here are some things that I know are going to frustrate me today. Here is the situation, this conversation I have to have with one of my employees today. How am I going to have that conversation? What am I going to say about that? How am I going to support her with whatever she gives back to me? Those are some of the things that's great for just that morning and finding your clarity. So that's one of the points that resonated with me when it came to Michael Hyatt's book. Another major point was saying yes to the things that you enjoy. And although it's good in theory, it's nice to be able to say, hey, say yes to the things you enjoy. But sometimes it's not always that easy to say yes to what you enjoy. Sometimes saying yes to what you enjoy means you're denying somebody else of something that they need. But really what you're aiming for is for your ultimate, I guess, gratification and, living your best life. So, and when you think about that, there are 4 things that Michael Hyatt put in his book. Like he said that when you think about freedom and the freedom that you have and the choice to choose what you enjoy, you want to basically have that freedom to focus, freedom to be present, to be spontaneous, and to do nothing. So productivity should be liberating. Freedom should be a liberating thing. So you want to choose the things that you enjoy to be able to enhance what your freedom is. You want to live your life being present, and you want to live your life doing purposeful tasks so that you have the ability to be spontaneous, an ability to do absolutely nothing. So, and when you have that, you get creativity. You can increase your productivity because you're doing all these things that you're in this, I guess, you're just doing things to support what you want. And when you're passionate about the things that you want and then you're doing the things that you enjoy, that inspires kind of more productivity and it ends up attracting more as well. So definitely saying yes to the things you enjoy was another really great point. So the next point that I thought was really amazing was the rule of 50. Who would have thought that after 50 hours a week, your productivity actually goes down? So it doesn't go up, it goes down. So sometimes people feel like, oh my gosh, I've already worked 12 hours, and in order to, kind of be at the top of my game, I have to put in 4 more hours so that I can really finish this project. There is something to be said for wanting to pull in a couple extra hours in order to get a project completed. I have done that. I think, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you're continuously pumping out 50, 60 hours, that can really, really stress you, and it actually can make you not as productive. So there's a study out there, and I can link it in the show notes to be able to say that if you're, you can actually be less productive by going over 50 hours of work. So I guess we just need to keep that in mind. If we see ourselves kind of at 50 hours and we're seeing us get to 60 hours, really, you're not being as productive as you think you are. And you might want to find out how to scale that back or get help so that you can be operating at your highest potential. Because when you go past 50 hours a week, you're not at your highest potential. So that is the rule of 50. Tell me what you think about that. What do you think about going over 50 hours a week? Because I know in event planning, we pull lots of hours. We're very, very stressed. So some of you out there might be rolling your eyes like, really, Naomi, I have to do my job, But what do you think about that? When you find yourself going over 50 hours, are you really being productive? Or are you just, running the hamster wheel? So the next point is the 7 basics of rejuvenation. So Michael Hyatt is very focused on the 7 basics of rejuvenation, which is also self care. Those 7 areas are sleeping, eat, move, connect, play, reflect, and unplug. It's highly important that we focus on our self care. As leaders, as employees, just as beings, we need to focus on our self care. When we don't focus on our self care, we will find that we are not balanced individuals. So, really making sure that we're getting enough sleep, that we're eating the right things, putting the right things into our bodies, that we're moving throughout the day, getting the exercise that we need, that we're connecting with other people. It's really important to have friends. It's important to have like-minded people, for you to be mentoring people, for you to be mentored by others. Those things are really important to connect in meaningful ways. So connecting really does also enrich your life, and it also helps you to be able to grow. That's a key point there with connecting. Playing, I mean, get out of here and go and do something fun. Go on a hike, play with your kids, go and skydive. Do something that will be able to help you play. Reflect. What reflect is just really reflecting on your life and on your world. And sometimes what happens is that we're so busy doing. We're doing everything. I got to get this out. I got to get that out. Got to go home. Got to feed my kids. Got to put my kids to bed. Or I got to meet with this person. Got to go on a trip over here. Sometimes we're moving so fast, we're not able to reflect. We're not able to look at what we have done, the things that we have accomplished. We're not able to appreciate them, be content in them, be joyful by them, and just really enjoy the journey. When you hear people say enjoy the journey, it's hard to enjoy the journey when you're just not even you're not even thinking about the journey. You're just flying by. So reflecting and making sure you're reflecting is very important. And then unplug. And when Michael talked about unplugging in his book, he really was like, don't think about work, don't talk about work, don't do nothing about work. You could just sit there and do nothing. You can go in nature and do something. Unplugging is definitely different from playing. It really is just disconnecting, relaxing, letting your body restore itself. Totally unplugging and totally not even thinking or caring or, having an agenda about anything. So, do you unplug? If you say that you don't unplug, maybe you need to schedule some time to unplug. Maybe this weekend you need to take, a whole day to yourself and say, hey, I'm going to the spa. I'm getting that massage. I'm going to unplug. So self-care was really important. And to me, that was a very surprising element of the book when you put self-care in with being productive, and when you compare your self-care and your productivity, and if you were to line it up side by side, you can say, oh wow, imagine how much more I could do if I were focused a little bit more on self-care. Imagine how much more productive I would be if I would just exercise and I would move more. There are scientific studies that show all of these things. If we do all of these, that productivity is higher, our thought process is higher, our creativity goes up, and on and on. So let's bring it back. Let's focus on self and make that intentional time to be able to focus on self. I really appreciated that part of Michael's book. I know there's some areas in my life I can definitely be so focused on putting out great work that I end up not focusing on what I'm putting into my body and not focusing on moving because you're just tied to your desk the whole time. So those are areas that I know I would need to be able to work on. And I think everybody has areas that they would need to work on. So sorry to continue to harp on these 7 keys or basics of rejuvenation, but they definitely are meaningful to me. And I think it was great points of the book that Michael brought up. The next one is when in doubt, automate. Now, what I really love about this was that Michael definitely broke down the 4 different types of automation. So he had self-automation, template automation, process automation, and tech automation. Now, wow, sometimes you just think of automation as one big bucket, but really to have all those broken down, it makes you think about, your work in a different way. And it makes you think about the struggles that you have within your work differently, because the type of resolution that you bring to those struggles can really be identified as, maybe these types of automation can be able to help you. So I really like what, Michael was saying in the book. If you do find that you struggle, that you're in let's say that you really struggle on budgeting, and you have to create a brand new budget every single time that you do a budget for a client. Well, when you look at it in the aspect of self-automation, it's like, what can you do? What can you set up a ritual for or a routine for to be able to help you approach that budget in the right way? Maybe instead of creating different templates each time, maybe you just stick with one process. Maybe, you kind of open up the same program. Well, when you find you do that, you start to create, let's say, a template, and use that template. So if you create a budget, it works well, use that as a template. Keep adding on to it. And then that way you're just improving yourself by making a template and by automating what your routine is as you go about that budget. So you can apply that to different other projects or different other types of tasks that you probably do on a daily basis. Really take a look at it and say, what do I do every time? Or how can I self-automate this? What things can I do so that I don't have to think about it, that I can do A, B, and C every time that I have to approach this task? And then, I've created this nice budget. How can I just create it into a template? What are some things that I need to do to alter this, this Excel spreadsheet to automate it a bit more and make it more of a template? Perhaps I can add in some formulas. Maybe I can, kind of create some automation within the template so that things are easier the next time that I do it. And then he talks about process automation, which is sometimes, what you do, you find it's a really great routine, and it might be applicable to, to many people on your team. Maybe that's something that can now be a new process. So now you're taking the efficiency outside of yourself and extending it to everyone. And then also, you might find that if you set up a process, it actually helps things go better, within the organization or within, the parameters of your desk. So, and then tech automation really was, what tools can you bring to the table to be able to automate? And, immediately I think about, what is that, junk mail? I forgot what it's called. But it's a tool that you can use that goes through filters through all of your email and takes out all of the junk. I think it's like unclutter.me. So things like that. Like, what tool can I use? Zapier is another tool that people use to automate. And I can also put that in the show links. Like, what tool can you use in order to automate certain aspects of your job to make them less manual, to then help you free up time to do the things that are either more strategic or help, you create other processes and other types of automation. So I really enjoyed that part of his book as well. And then we just have a few more. So the next one is the learning the art to delegation. Do you know that there is an art to delegation? Delegation isn't just going over to someone and just giving them something and say, hey, can you do this? And bye. And then you leave. Most likely what will happen is that task will come back to you. Number one, people won't know what you're talking about. They don't know how to complete the task. They get frustrated, and then they just say, I can't do this. I'm giving it back to you. Or I have so many questions that you end up being frustrated yourself and just taking it back on. So what I enjoyed about reading this is that when you do delegate to someone, you really need to go to them and you really need to explain the steps and explain when they need to either report back to you or what they need to do, explain the empowerment around it, how much you're empowering them with, and then, letting them know how they can contact you along the way. Another key point of delegation is that when people are on your team as leaders, it's easy for us to just keep everything that we feel is important to ourselves. But if you have an employee that's like, oh my gosh, I think that we need to do this. Like, for example, there was a employee on my team that really was passionate about getting a OneNote notebook out for our team to help our team be more on the same page. And although it's something that I probably would want to have some direction in how it's built, I just said, you know what? I don't have I don't have the passion right now for doing that with everything I have on my plate, but since you are energetic about it, passionate about it, you want to do it, you want to lead it, go for it, and I let her know, hey, why don't we just set up some meetings on the calendar so we can talk through kind of what I vision it to be and then what you're visioning, and let's put those together, and then I can let you be on your way and, create the OneNote, and then we can kind of meet to see how the project's going. It worked out perfect. The team is so excited to have this OneNote. I didn't have to do a lot of heavy lifting, but she was absolutely passionate about what she wanted to do, and it just worked. She's excited. She felt empowered. She felt like she owned something, that she accomplished something. And so I think that that's also a key point of delegation too, to really, look and see what your team is, proud of, what they really want to do, and empower them to do that, because you are inspiring and growing and mentoring new leaders as well. And you want to be able to give them the bandwidth to be able to do that. So, and then another key point that I really enjoyed was prioritizing your tasks. Going into your day going into your week with like 3 major things that you want to do, and then breaking down those 3 major things into 3 daily tasks that you want to make sure that you complete every single day in order to accomplish those big 3 goals. So when I think about it, I kind of think about one of those like an org chart, and if you were to have, big idea 1, big idea 2, big idea 3, and then underneath each one you're having, additional tasks underneath in order to support that big idea. So that's what I think for your daily task, and that's what Michael was trying to portray as well. So definitely, when you're looking at your week, prioritize, do a to-do list and focus on those things. And anything that comes outside of those 3 things, those get put in a place for maybe at the end of your day where you actually have time to really kind of check off all the other things that people want. So we definitely want to be we want to be in control of our day and not let the day control us. How we go into a day is really how we'll finish the day. So if you go into the day checking email and trying to answer every single email that comes through, what ends up happening is that you totally do not focus on any of the goals that you have for you. Get your stuff done first, the things that are on your daily 3, and then towards the end of the day, midday, or whenever you have your daily 3 done, then focus on some of the things that you have to do for everyone else. You'll find that you're more productive in the things that you have control over, responsibility for, you're held accountable for. You're going to be more successful and productive in those, and then you'll still be able to tackle others kind of problems, or the little things that come up through the day as well. So what do you think? Those were a few of the points that I brought up. There's a couple other points that you might want to catch on the blog post, but I love the podcast because it goes so much more in depth on a couple of these areas. So definitely check out the post, pick up the book if you still would like to read The Free to Focus. And then we also have a really great kind of discussion chat that we had about it on Facebook Live, and you can catch that also at our Facebook page. So really tell me what you think about this productivity. Does it provide the points that I give to you, did that help you, provide you with more clarity, with more freedom? Were there some things that resonated with you that you really want to kind of do now? I would just say, at least take one key point that you learned today and use it. Use it this week. Use it today to be able to start getting yourself on the road to increasing your productivity. So I would like to thank you so much for joining this episode of Planet on a Post-it podcast. I really hope that you received some wonderful productivity tips to be able to help you in your business. In addition, I really encourage you to join us for the discussion on August 7th, 8 p.m. Central Time, as we discuss Spark. It looks like it's going to be a great book. It's a New York Times bestseller. We're going to dig deep. We're going to have conversation. We're going to elevate our minds. We're going to change our worlds, and we're looking forward to it. So definitely sign up. In addition, make sure you're liking, you're following, you're subscribing. I would love it if you do that. But until next time, have a good day.